Siesta Sand Live. Siesta Sand Live is broadcast from Captain Kurt's Village. It's Siesta Key's home to great food, great drinks, great music, and great times. Look for the giant American flag.
Welcome to Siesta Sand Live. I'm your host, Natalie Gutwein, and I've got another great lineup for you here today. Today I have James Richards. He is a local artist that does some amazing paintings of Siesta Key. And he paints all over the world, but he's done some great things here. And I also have Suzanne Armbruster. She has been instrumental in getting this island back together in the cleanup efforts. So stay tuned.
The next segment is brought to you by the Judy Berger team, part of Sotheby's International Realty. Whether a buyer or a seller, you'll be delighted with their service. And by Altez Vacations. It's the perfect place to go to find that perfect place to rent.
Hello and welcome. I am here with James Richards,
Hi.
world-renowned artist and Siesta Key resident. You can frequently find him sketching at Mojo in the morning. That's our favorite coffee shop, both of us. So how did you get here? I don't know if you know how I noticed your work.
No, I don't, actually. I'm very
paint-
famous and important.
Right. Yes. You drew Gilligan's.
I did, yeah.
And I don't know. You must have posted it on Instagram or Facebook or something, and that got my attention. It just was the way you caught that. I loved it.
Oh, that's wonderful to
So
hear.
that's how I found you, and then I found out. Well, no wonder he sketched it. He's at Mojo every morning.
Yeah.
So
Well-
you got a great background. How did you get into what you do now?
Well, I think my mom kept one of my drawings when I was about 4. Kindergarten, I could do the numbers and I could do the letters and all those things, but I lived for the drawing bit, And of course, they don't let you do that much when you get up a little
Right, yeah.
higher. You're almost back in high school before you do any of that. But in college, I discovered design school.
Where'd you go to college?
This was at Louisiana State, and I graduated in spite.
Is that where you
Of
grew
all the
up,
fun.
Louisiana?
Yeah, mostly New Orleans and Lafayette and those types of places. That's where I met my wife.
Oh.
And she's a North Louisiana girl, so it's a mixed marriage, but, it's okay. And
Is that okay there? Are they
It's
north,
okay after
northern and the
48
southerners?
years.
Yeah, okay. Well, they've accepted her by now.
Absolutely. But, I got into design school, and I remember walking the halls in the landscape architecture wing and seeing all these amazing drawings. Now, this was back in the 70s. This was before everything was computer generated.
Oh, yeah.
These were all hand drawings, and my gosh, they were drawings of places, but they weren't places that you could go see. They were places in the imagination that these people were designing. And, they're changing the world. Somebody's going to build this stuff, and they're going to make these amazing places. And I said, that's a good job,
Right.
and looked into it and discovered that it also encompassed human psychology. Anthropology, environment, science, all these things that I was very interested in. And they let me draw to my heart's content. And it was just wonderful. I basically built a career around that for about 30 years.
An urban designer? Is that what that was?
Yes. The degree was in landscape architecture, but I immediately went into cities and started working there on things like downtown redevelopments and plazas and open spaces and reworking
Building
streets
cities,
and
designing
that
them.
type of stuff. And man, you just feel like, you see this potential in a few blocks or something, and you envision it and you draw it up. And a lot of times that kind of stuff doesn't get built for 30
Right.
years.
Oh.
But there have been a few times that it went pretty quickly. And even the people that were out there with signs saying that this is going to ruin the world,
Oh,
once it gets done, are huge, huge fans. And, they
Yeah.
invite you to their kids' weddings and that kind of stuff. But anyway, while that was going on, all the computer art started coming in. And I became slowly but surely one of the few people on the planet that could still do what I did. And at some point, architects, other designers started realizing that by going completely to computers, they'd thrown the baby out with the bathwater. A lot of the creativity
oh, yeah.
had gone out of it. It had become kind of cut and paste.
Well, that's the way I think of it. I mean,
Yeah.
my day job, I'm a real estate agent, and when we put a house on the market, it has to be perfect, or when somebody's designing a new property, and it's all just cut and paste, boom, 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 tree here,
Yeah.
grass there,
Yeah.
and I think it lacks the creativity that it used to have.
Obviously, I feel the same way. And I think when something is so picture perfect, people are less likely to get into a conversation about it than if it looks like it was actually done by a human being. That's
Right.
been my experience.
Well, that really explains your work.
Cool.
The way you sketch it's not just a scene.
Right.
It's not just everything that you see around you. It is your view on that. And that's what I saw in what you drew from Gilligan's it was just Gilligan's. It wasn't
Yeah.
the things around it.
Yeah.
And we'll pull up your work after the break. I would like people to see what I'm talking about, that it's just the subject.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very interesting and got my attention very quickly.
That's the advantage of drawing over straight up photography. There's a lot of incredibly creative photographers, but just kind of, we can edit and
Right.
we can decide what goes in and what goes out depending on what you want to emphasize. And I want to emphasize the magic of a place. I really
Yeah.
want people to feel like, wow, that's very cool. I want to go there. And when I go someplace like Cuba, that people are maybe a little standoffish about it, and you go and you draw, and people look at what you're doing, and you get into conversations with, Cuban locals and things like that. You bring it back here, and people say, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea."
Yeah.
Or Morocco, or Kenya, or wherever,
Yeah.
and that's a really good reason to draw. Is that you can do something with an image that transcends language, that
Right.
transcends borders, it transcends even politics sometimes in the
Right.
case of Cuba. And it builds bridges and it makes the world a smaller place. So
Right.
that's
So
the
do
real gig.
your Instagram is JR Sketchbook. Do you
Right.
always carry the sketchbooks around with you, and just whenever you see something, and draw it? Is that where that concept came from?
Oh, all the time, and I'm drawing on, I'm a workhorse. No, I'm not. I'm lazy. But I do carry the little sketchbook. Look at me on this. I do carry the little sketchbook around almost all the time. I'm not one of these obsessed people that draws their food, when they're eating or something like that. And a lot of my friends are. I grew up in Louisiana. I'd rather eat.
Right. Yeah.
But if I see something that strikes me when I see it as one of my drawings, I'll just shut down. And, Patty will go hang out someplace, or she may just sit and take some photos or something like that. And if I get 20 or 30 minutes, I'm done.
Oh, wow. That's
typically.
all it takes.
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll take it back to the studio to do color or something like that. But like the Gilligan's thing, for instance, I just stood on the sidewalk. And
How long did it take you to draw that?
well, is yours the one that only has one half of the thatch roof and then they added the other half later?
The drawing that got my attention?
Yeah.
It was from maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's the one that I did where you can see a lot of Mojo Coffee Shop and all that business. And that probably took 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back and added color in the studio, but not much color. It's
No, it's
pretty
not.
quickly
Yeah, it's
done. And that one, some people really enjoyed. I'm part of that noisy group that sits in a group of 7 or 8 or sometimes 10 on
At
Wednesdays
Mojo?
and Saturdays. Yes, at
Oh.
Mojo. Those people. Yeah.
I know, I always see them because I'll dart in, get my coffee, dart out.
Right, right.
But I can't live without it. And I go to other cities and anywhere else and I try the coffee and I'm like, oh, nope, Scott. I don't know what he did. I don't know what his magic is, but I drink the Moonlight. Which one's your favorite?
Oh, I typically get the big cappuccino,
Oh.
the big one, and that acai bowl, which
Oh
is
yeah,
addictive.
very much so. That's
It's
my go-to.
absolutely addictive. But I've got a new book coming out probably this summer, and Mojo is mentioned in the acknowledgments.
Oh really? It's
Yes, they are, because they let me sit in there for 2 years and nurse cappuccinos for 3 or 4 hours, and they never asked me to leave. They never asked me to buy anything else. And I basically wrote the book there.
oh wow.
So it's appreciation, and we're going to have a book signing there when the thing comes out. And you'll be there, I know.
I will.
You'll be buying
Absolutely.
copies for all your friends.
I will. Yes. Very good. Do you do if can somebody commission you if they want their something drawn or sketched out? Have you done much of that?
Very rarely, because the nature of my work is to be someplace and record it in my own way.
Oh.
And when you take a commission, that spontaneity goes out the window
Right,
because you're trying
yeah.
to please somebody else. And really don't need the money for commissions. That type of stuff comes in from video class royalties and that type of thing. But I think twice I've said yes, and one of them was actually Roseanne Cash.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah. She saw some of my work from Cuba in an office at actually Arkansas State University. It was one of the director of the Hemingway Center there. And she said, "What's that?" And he says, "Oh, this is this guy that went to Cuba with us. And he did all these things, and we had an exhibition there." And he says, she kind of crinkles up her face and says, "You think he would draw my dad's boyhood home?" And he actually said, "Well, he's very busy. Let me get in touch and see what's up." So Patty and I are driving around the national parks of Utah, and I get this email from this guy, and he says, "Roseanne Cash was in my office, and she asked if you'd be interested in a commission. I told her you were very busy." And I said, "Well, geez, I don't know, Patty, what do you think?" She says, "Well, you're very busy." I said,
Right. Yeah.
well, obviously tell her yes. And we got in touch and traded a couple of emails back and forth. And I remember asking her, I'm really looking forward to working with you on this, and I'm interested in talking to you about your vision for the piece. And she said, "I would never tell another artist how to do their
Oh
work."
wow.
I know, that's like,
That is yeah.
I need to
My
get a
da-
shirt with that on it.
My dad is he writes songs and he started playing the drums and now piano and everything. But he
That's so
writes
cool.
writes his own music and
Yeah.
yeah, to hear that
Oh my gosh.
you don't get appreciation like that very
No.
often when you're an artist of any kind.
No. So I'm going to do her a painting. And of course, I ended up doing 13 because I do want to say, "Oh, she's not going to like it. Oh, she's not going to like it."
Right.
And so I ended up sending her 2. And I said, the one she wanted to commission was a gift. And I said, "This one is for your gift, and the other one's for you for allowing me to be part of this." And
'Cause that's history. Johnny Cash. That
Well, it is.
American history.
That's absolutely true. And at their Johnny Cash Heritage Festival, a little later, she was going to give this gift to the woman who had arranged the festival and
Oh,
all
wow.
this. And she says, "I want you to come on stage and give it to her." And I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, you got a problem with that?" And I said, "Well, no, I'll do whatever you want me to do." And so the festival starts, and she's out on stage, and she welcomes all the dignitaries and this type of thing. And then she calls this woman out, and it's a complete surprise. And then she calls me out to bring the painting, and it's like, damn, in my wildest dreams, I never thought somebody would be asking me out on a stage like that. So I can die happy.
Right.
It's all good. But
Kind of
yeah,
crazy where life leads
yeah,
us
yeah.
sometimes.
If somebody offers me something like that, sure, I'll do a commission. That's
Right, yeah, that. Well, yeah,
if
that
Prince
is.
called,
Yeah, that's a little. If you're going to do a commission, it's for Roseanne Cash. That would be the one to do it for,
Yeah.
or an icon. Well, that's awesome. Well, let's take a short break, and
Okay.
we'll come back, and I want to show everybody what you do.
Very good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
The following segment is brought to you by Beach Bazaar, located in the heart of Siesta Village. Everything for the beach, and we do mean everything. And by FAM Development, the area's best in custom-built homes. Start living your dream on and around Siesta Key.
We're back with James Richards. This is what you do. This is your art. Can you talk a little bit about this piece?
I can. You've got really my work in your lap. All of this work is done in sketchbooks, and then I will, blow some of it up and put it on canvases or something like this. But yeah, this is pretty typical. This is in Lucca, Italy, where Patty and I teach a couple of times a year. And this is standing in the street and looking back down a narrow little shopping street, and you can see the people down toward the bottom. That's what gets my attention first, is the crowds and the energy and the signs, and you can see these kind of curly Q street lights and those types of things. And I am a real sucker for towers and things like that at the end of the street. This one has a clock. Oh, boy. Yeah. Try to keep me from drawing this. And you can see that we're looking down this narrow street. It's like a focal point at the end of it. So it's got all the things that I really love. And literally standing in the street and people are jostling you and that type of thing. And sometimes they'll stop and get into a conversation about it and tell you things that you would never learn any other way. And they wouldn't be inclined at all to speak to you if you didn't have that drawing.
Right, if you weren't standing there sketching.
Right.
You know, what really got my attention are your lines. And just
Bless you.
Knowing that you come from that background of designing landscaping, I
Right.
think that's what makes sense to me of how you got here and why it looks the way it does. And I mean, you drew that, but it doesn't look like a drawing. It looks like something that was computer generated, but you did it, and it's whatever that says right there.
That says something or another, and that is the one thing on here that I didn't draw.
Oh, really?
I cut it out of a little catalog and stuck it on there.
Well, that explains why it looks different.
Yeah, and all the rest of it is just kind of hinted at. But the lines, that mostly comes out of design school. You're
Really?
right. But tragically, a lot of my childhood was shaped by Mad Magazine.
That is a great story, though. Mad Magazine it influenced America. Period.
Yeah. Oh, it was a really amazing thing artistically, but also it was kind of subversive. It was the kind of thing you could read and say, "Wait a minute, I can challenge authority a little bit. I can make fun of these people." And but I just loved the drawings. You remember they had these television and these movie satires. And man, I
could see that influence in this.
Yeah.
Those art history classes in college are coming in handy when I look at your work.
Oh yeah, Mad Magazine's big in the art history classes.
It is, yes. Yeah, especially at Indiana University. We did things a little differently there, but.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
This is is this your first book?
That's my first, and the second's coming out here in just a little bit. And that's called Freehand Drawing and Discovery, and the emphasis is on discovery. Because the way that I teach this is that you're not drawing to draw a pretty picture. You're drawing to learn about the place, and it's almost like a key for discovery, and discovery is the important thing. Like, you will look around and you'll see the materials of the buildings, and you'll see, you know, the crafted ironwork and those types
Right.
of things. And you'll start to learn more and more because you're slowing down to really pay attention. And that's what drawing does.
So what have you learned about Siesta Key?
Well, for one thing, we really like it here. And by
How long
that
have you
I
been
mean,
here?
well, we've lived here full time for 8 years, and before then, and actually before COVID, we traveled so much that it was kind of hard to make friends. We were doing these workshops all over the world. The year before COVID, we did 13, and most of those were overseas. And you can imagine you're either doing it, or you're planning for it, or you're recovering from it when
Right.
you get back. And then COVID comes and shuts everything down. We weren't doing anything, but that meant I could get out and draw around here, and you'd actually run into people and meet them from 6 feet apart.
Right.
And
Our social distancing that we did here in Florida.
yes, but my gosh, it was so nice
Yeah.
not to just be running crazy all the time, and to really enjoy the place and to discover it, and to discover some of the people, and to go to Mojo every day.
Right, yeah. Thank God Scott opened Mojo up
Oh,
the
gosh.
minute he could, and yeah, I was like, yeah, I was in there still every single day, and that we got back to normal so much faster here in Florida,
Yeah.
and that coffee shop was part of what made me feel like, oh, okay, we're back together again. We can do this, and then Florida went crazy, but
Yeah. Well, I tell them sometimes they're not in the coffee business; they're in the community business, and they're not paying us to say any of this.
right.
It's what we do, right?
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of what Siesta Key is building that, nurturing that. That's what drew me here. Was
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's beautiful. It's warm most of the time, but the people, and that's what the character of this, and that's what I see in the things, because you've drawn other things here on Siesta than
Yeah,
just
right.
Gilligan's.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what
Oh,
are-
yeah.
What are some of the other things you've drawn?
I've walked around all different viewpoints of Pointer Rocks and drawn that from different ways. Some of the beach access points, Patriots Pier down there, several places around the village, and it's a nice thing about Siesta Key. I've never gotten thrown out of anywhere. I have in other places.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think we're kind of nice like that.
Yeah. It's a nice Southern hospitality thing. But ever since 9/11, security is such that if somebody sees you taking a lot of pictures or spending too much time,
They get a little nervous.
they'll want to know.
Right.
And so you've got that kind of thing going on, or they'll want to charge you a cover or something like that. Winter Park will write me a ticket.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
standing
Okay.
on
Note
the
to
sidewalk.
self. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, don't want to go there.
Doing that kind
We
of
don't want to be that kind of place here. We want to
No.
be the complete
No.
opposite.
But look at this. Does that not scream Mad Magazine to you?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it does. And again, the lines.
The
that's
good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of.
So if somebody wants to find your work, they want to see what you do, where do they go?
They go to jamesrichardssketchbook.com, and of course, James Richards Sketchbook, all one word. And there's information there about prints. There's information about originals. There's information about video classes. I've done a lot of that stuff over the years, and that's probably the thing that's most rewarding, because I'll sell a few prints here and there,
Right.
but you'll get 6,000 or 10,000 people taking those
wow. On
video
the-
courses.
Really? And what are you teaching
yeah.
on those courses?
Well, the first one that I did was really comprehensive, and the way that I teach is starting with human figures, which sounds really complicated, but we're not teaching figure drawing, we're not doing portraits, we're just trying to populate a scene to get that energy, right?
So you're teaching people how to draw
Yes.
through the video. Okay.
Yeah. And then adding things to that and simplifying the architecture so that it's really more like a stage set
Oh.
than it is really complicated buildings. And that's kind of the way I see it. Is the people are like actors, and they're on the stage of the plaza or the street or something like
Right.
that, and then you've got the stage set back behind them, and you can create any drama you want in that drawing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And pigeons. Don't forget the pigeons.
Right. Pigeons are important. And I think they're pretty much all over the world, aren't they?
Oh, they are. They are. And if you get in a bind and you don't know what is missing in a sketch, typically it's pigeons.
Oh, really?
I'm kidding. No.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. If anybody is looking to find him, Mojo.
There you go. Yeah, come in the morning.
Yep, come
Buy me a coffee, and you can
Right.
talk as long as you want to.
Hang out. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. So great
Thank
to
you for
have
inviting me.
as a Siesta Key resident. There's so many people here that have such interesting stories, and that's what this podcast is about, is getting to know the people of Siesta Key. Sometimes we're political, sometimes we're talking about what's going on the island with that, but we also want to get the flavor of who's here.
Sure.
And you
Sure.
just live down the street.
I just live down the street, and this podcast is a real service. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
People get introduced to each other this way through your podcast. So very grateful for what you do.
Well, thank you very much. Hope to see you again.
Thank you.
The final segment is brought to you by the law offices of Eric Fleming, specializing in real estate closings. Mr. Fleming is also the current president of the Siesta Key Chamber of Commerce. And by Gilligan's Island Bar and Grill. Experience the heartbeat of the Siesta Village's dining and social scene.
Welcome back. I am here with Suzanne Armbruster. And so this weekend, I get a text message from a friend of mine, and it's on the Siesta Key, one of the Facebook pages. And long story short, you were able to get a lot of cleanup done here on Siesta Key that those of us that are on all kinds of boards and all that stuff, we have not yet got the county to be able to do it. And he was like, wow, how did she get this done? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to get her on the podcast and see. So we've had these hurricanes, and we're still cleaning up, and you get involved, and it really takes place. So what did you do? How did you get that started?
I think, it was a 1-2 punch with Helene and Milton, as we all know, and the trash was just everywhere. It's still everywhere.
Right.
It's better than it was, but slow going. And I think the county was just so busy with all of everything else they have to do. They have a huge county to clean up. Season was approaching. I think it was maybe beginning of January, and just things were still looking pretty bad, and especially on Stickney Point Road. Stickney Point Road, when you think of that, it is our gateway.
It is.
Now,
When they come over the bridge, that's
Yes,
what you see.
It is. And my husband, who's Adam's the king of the metaphors, he said, you have to look at it like Disney World. So when you go to Disney World and you're coming up to the gates before you get into the park, if there was trash everywhere and it looked like our roads look to our number one beach, like, what would you think? So, and it's true. Like, this is the entranceway, and it should be beautiful.
Yes.
And it's not. It's never been, really. I mean, those of us who live around here and walk that street, you always see trash, regardless of the hurricanes. The hurricanes just made it 100 times worse.
It exacerbated the issue, right? And there were for months, there were couches and things just still sitting over there. And we're all, the commissioners have been on. We're a lot of us here on the island working to get this place cleaned up. And I see a text message Sunday that you have immobilized the forces. And then I drive over here, and I was like, wow, she got this place cleaned up.
Well, you know what?
Thank you for...
Well, you're welcome. And it was a lot of helping hands, not just me. But I think sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands. Like, I made all the phone calls to the county, as I'm sure everybody else did.
Right.
When is this going to happen? We need this, we need that. This is what this looks like. And it just, nothing was happening. And I would have organized a cleanup a lot sooner, but January it was freezing. I didn't want people cleaning trash up at 40-degree weather. I'm like, that's not going to work.
Right.
But, season was quickly approaching. It's usually February 1st. And finally, when it warmed up a little bit, it was like, okay, we're doing it this week. I mean, I gave people like 3 days notice, and there were some people that jumped on board. I had Lourdes, who is here in town, Ramirez, and she had friends that came over and helped. And Tanya Gowan, who is with New Balance and Molly, some of her friends came. Some just people that saw it on the Siesta Key site came over to help. We ended up having about 25 volunteers. A few of the businesses lent us a hand. We had New Balance, we had Daiquiri Deck, Kurtz here that said you can use our dumpsters, which we really needed.
That was nice, you're right.
We had CB's employees who kind of came out and helped us pick up bags after we bagged everything up. We really just touched the surface. And I mean, we could really, I'm sure it was things from, like, we laugh and say we could furnish a whole apartment with everything we found.
Or
it was like
several apartments, probably.
We had refrigerator door, we had mirror, we had surfboards, we had, I mean, anything, you name it, we were pulling out of that vegetation. A lot of the men were started to clean up the sand, because the sand in the bike lanes is treacherous. I mean, you cannot ride your bike on those.
No, and I do ride my bike around here.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
All the time, and it is dangerous.
Well, they started cleaning up the sand, which was backbreaking. And after about one whole section in front of Daiquiri Deck, it was like, okay, we can't do this alone. I mean, this is big equipment type of work. But, we did pick up trash all along Stickney Point. We picked up trash. We worked on, just a lot of the grit and dirt that was on the sidewalks. And we got a lot done. And then we did a second cleanup, and sure enough, you walk Stickney Point and there's new trash. It's never ending.
Because it is still Siesta Key, and it is still a tropical island. So I can't blame it all on the hurricanes.
And you know what? You don't want plastic going into the Gulf.
No.
Lots of reasons. So anyway, we pretty much got it cleaned up. I think the county paid attention.
I think they did too.
Because they're out there today.
Yes,
they've been out there for a few days.
Sand trucks out there cleaning. Oh, yeah.
So that's really, really great. It's so good to see them working on that road. I do know there's other areas on the Key that need addressing, and we're going to do that
great.
soon. We're talking about a March 8th cleanup date, and addressing some areas on Midnight Pass Road South, and I think Canal Road, Beach Road. There's still some areas that are really trashy. So a lot of hurricane.
Well, Commissioner Smith was on, and he said for the community involvement, for the community members that do things like that, to let the county know ahead of time, and if you put it in a pile, they will come pick it up.
Right. And they do. No, they do. And they did for us. I mean, my husband and I, just last Thursday, we cleaned up a lot of the vegetation that was all along the guardrails on Stickney, and we had a pile of palm fronds and bags, a mile high, and they did. They came and picked them up. So that's what we'll hopefully do, is be able to stack everything and just tell them, hey, come get it. It takes a village, right? We all
it really does. Yeah.
I see people walking by trash, and I think, how do you walk past that straw? like pick it up, help us. If everybody picked a piece of trash up every day who walked these streets, we'd be clean.
Oh, right. I am so going to use the Disney World analogy. When I'm talking to the commissioners and different people, because that is their thing, is it has to be clean. Everything has to be clean, and that's what people are paying for. And I think that's how we feel about Siesta Key is, we need to take care of what takes care of us.
Everybody needs to chip in. I mean, we can't just assume the county can do everything. They can't. So it just takes all of us to kind of pitch in a little bit. And, these are great people that help. The volunteers we've had were so nice. It's like, they're all my new best friends. I want to be friends with them. They care.
Right.
And it's just
And
fantastic.
I think more people would come out. I'm glad that you agreed to come on the podcast, because we can try to get more people to come and help. I think there are a lot of people that are willing to help. And that's one of the things I've heard from the hurricanes. I can't believe all the stories of the people that have a friend of mine yesterday, was telling me that there was a neighbor of his that his house got flooded in the middle of the storm. He said, "Can I come over and sit in my car because your house is higher?" And he said, "No, go in." And they ended up living with him for months. And that's what
I think
Siesta
people
Key
really
is.
rallied together. I had
they
friends
did,
that
yeah.
lost everything. It's just you do what you can. You know, we helped some of our friends clean out, and it's sad. I mean, it was really.
It was.
I don't
It
think
was-
anybody was expecting Helene.
No.
And I hope we
not
never
like
have that again. So it's just, but you do have to chip in where you can. And thank you so much for having me on here.
You're welcome. So, what is your background? What did, what did you do before you were here on Siesta Key?
We've lived here about 25 years. So most of my time here has been volunteering, doing a lot of different things. Right now, we're just getting to the stage where we can really just kind of relax and enjoy and give back to our community, and that's what we're trying to do.
So I hear you're comfortable on camera. Is there were you on camera in a previous
I am.
life, or?
A few things here and there, but I've been around TV all of my adult life, so it's, not something I aspire to be. I don't like being on camera. I don't like my picture taken, but it's okay. This is a great cause, and really, if more people can just help out, it would be fantastic. And it's not just Siesta Key; it's like all of
Right.
Sarasota. Like just even driving down 75 yesterday, I was looking at all the trash, and I was like, should I pull over and get that plastic? But it's dangerous work. Stickney Point was.
Right.
I mean, we put our life in danger by cleaning up that road, and I really hope people appreciate what all the volunteers did. I mean, it was not easy.
Oh, they did. I
Cleaning
can
up
tell
the rest
you.
of the key is going to be a piece of cake.
You started a stir.
Oh,
And my phone lit up, and people noticed, and that's what I'm so glad you came on the podcast. So March 8th, you're trying to
March
get...
8th, we're coordinating with Matt, who does the Adopt a Road for Midnight Pass.
Okay.
So we're going to coordinate with him, and then we're also going to be cleaning up on Canal Road and Ocean. I think if anybody knows other areas that need addressing, if we get enough volunteers, it might be, one more day of work. We'll see. The plan right now is hopefully to meet at both daiquiri decks on both sides of so the village and here.
Do you know what time
Might be
yet?
our meeting places. Probably 8 o'clock on March 8th. But I'll probably post it on. I will post it on the Siesta Key Facebook site when we have a firm time and date and place. And we'd love to have everybody come out. It's fun. Picking up trash is fun.
It can be. Anything can be fun if you approach it with the right idea and the right people.
Well, to clean it up and then see what it looks like after it's clean, it's just, you have that satisfaction. Of, wow, look how nice this looks.
I noticed it. Yeah, when I came over.
Did you?
Oh yeah, immediately. Yeah. And I live here. I'm constantly on and off these bridges, and I noticed how it looked so different, because right over at Stickney Point, that's where it just seemed like everything kind of pooled over there, and there were just couches and dirt junk. And
I mean, you can see right where the flood, came in and
just kind of
ended.
stopped right there. Yeah, at that kind of where that traffic light is. And I thought, this can't be our gateway.
Oh, no. And I mean, just all the people. Think of all the visitors that come here, and just for people that live here like you and I. I mean, who wants to see see the trash all the time? So.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
I hope we get more volunteers out there for you on March 8th.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much to James and Suzanne. I really appreciate you both coming on. James paints such amazing... I just love the way he captures Siesta Key. Cut. Hated it. Thank you very much, James and Suzanne, for coming on the podcast. I hope you got to see a little bit of a glimpse of what I saw from James and his art. I love that he focuses here on Siesta Key, and then he draws, and just the way he captures our island. I think it's beautiful. And Suzanne, thank you so much. You got people moving out here. You're helping us get this place put back together. And I really encourage anybody out there, if you're available on March 8th, come to Captain Kurt's 8 a.m. and she's going to have people working. Cut. Start all over. Go. Thank you, James and Suzanne, both for coming on the podcast. I hope you get a chance to see James's art, and you can see what it is I love about what he does. I really love the way he captures Siesta Key and the way he sees our beautiful island. And Suzanne, thank you for everything you've put together. We're all trying to get Siesta Key back to the way it was before the hurricanes. And I really honestly do think it's going to be better. I know there are people working very diligently on the chamber and business owners and citizens like Suzanne just to get us back. So please, if you're available March 8th and you want to volunteer, please do so. You can look at my posts on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll try to keep you updated on what's going on. So thanks again for watching another episode of Siesta Sand Live.
Siesta Sand Live is broadcast from Captain Kurt's Village. It's Siesta Key's home to great food, great drinks, great music, and great times. Look for the giant American flag.